This is Remo or Remi, and he learnt the full planche in just 9 months, and this is his full story explaining step by step how he did it.
And I used a book called the Lafay method, book about basics, like where you learn how to do squats, pull-up, push-up, dips, everything.
So this way of training is kind of kept only to the French because the Lafay method, this book, is only written in French. There's no English translation of the whole entire book, at least that I could see it online. So it seems very popular in France. And maybe this is the secret to the French athlete's strength, is because they get this great foundation in basics, great physique, great muscular strength, and this propels them into their static journey. Obviously, it's more than just about basics, but the start of your journey and building that foundation is very important. From my research and the things I could see in English, the central idea of the Lafay method is to peak your motivation to increase your engagement in a regular fitness regimen. As time passes, you'll increase the intensity of the activities and exercises and start building an increasingly muscular and strong physique. So you'll start progressing these bodyweight exercises that are going to start off as your basic. The Lafay method also introduces stretching heavily into the regimen. So you stretch and train quite hard, and these two things go together quite well to help you at the start of your journey build up your mobility, your flexibility, and your strength and endurance. And over a couple months, a lot of people would see great changes to their physique, which would lead to a lot of word of mouth testimonials and led to this book becoming so popular and this method of training becoming so popular in France. Next, let's explain how Remo went from following the Lafay method as a beginner to one of the best in static skills, even having a static skill named after it. Let's begin. So now we know that Remo focused on his basics for 3 months to build muscle and his physique and focus on his strength. So now we know he had a good basis in both of these things. From this point on, he started training the static skills. Now about 5 months into his training journey, his close friend gave him a challenge. He said, "Remo, I want you to try and learn the full planche by your birthday." Now Remo's birthday was August the 1st, so he had to put in a ton of work if he was going to achieve this, but he accepted the challenge.
Sign the contract, big boy, sign the contract.
So he got to work. He started training incredibly hard for the full planche, learning what he could, doing attempts. We're gonna dive in deeper into what exactly he felt really helped him in his training, but the point is here, he trained super hard and focused mainly on the static skills at this point that he had a good level in his basics and good foundation of muscle. So he trained and trained and trained and trained. A couple days before his birthday on August 1st, he realized he had done it. He did his attempt and he'd gotten the full planche. Decent form, not obviously perfect, but he had gotten the full planche. His main issue here was his arms were bending. First full planche is never gonna be your best, but his friend accepted it and said, yes, you've got full planche. So just 9 months into training, Remo had achieved his goal. But like I said, it did come at a cost. He had a bad form habit. His arms kept bending within the full planche and within his static skills, so he needed to fix this.
And one day I was training on the Prado beach in Marseille, and I came across Wonders Ortiz, the brother of Eric, who's one of the strongest planchers in the game. I asked him how he thought I could resolve my bent arm problem. He told me to practice supinated planche lengths, focusing mainly on keeping the arm locked out. So I did that and had really good results very fast.
Now you guys know, I just had to ask him when we were talking, how did he learn the full planche that quick? What was his exercise regimen?
Because I think advanced tuck is like the perfect happy medium between the tuck and the harder elements like straddle and full planche. In terms of levers, basically, advanced tuck is actually pretty close to straddle, for example. You don't have like to lean a lot more between advanced tuck and straddle. And advanced tuck is actually the hardest progression to get, because like once you get maybe, I don't know, like 10 seconds tuck planche, you think, yeah, I'm ready for advanced. Well, you're not, because there's really a big gap between tuck and advanced that people sometimes don't realize. And once you get advanced tuck, basically you can just like grind in advanced tuck and it will really strengthen you as a whole.
So he mainly learnt the front lever using raises and negatives. He said this wasn't maybe the most optimal, but he built up a lot of lat strength by doing this. So a lot of raises, a lot of negatives, and a lot of Victorian. He got very good at Victorian and could single leg Victorian before he was even close to, getting his full front lever. So he said this really helped him build up a good basis in those muscles you use for front lever. So he was obviously really good at push, but also naturally gifted at pulling elements, especially floor Victorian, because because he really loved the skill, he trained it a lot, he started to really excel at the Victorian elements of pull. He ended up getting so advanced at pull, he ended up doing skills and variants of skills that people had never done before.
Months after, in April 2021, I achieved a really hard skill, which is the Zaran. It's a transition from back lever to Victorian cross. So I was the second one to do it in street workout at the time, after my friend's Elias page, and it was of the many reasons why we got pretty close. And by the end of September 2020, so still under 2 years of training, I created my first skill, which I call with my name the Lajay, which is a transition between Dragon Press to floor Vic.
Now, right when Remo was reaching the peak in his calisthenics career in terms of getting his name out there, remember there was less people out there doing these things, it was less popular, and he was still being one of the best out there in pulling elements. And just when he was getting to that height, he ended up getting injured in push. So he couldn't do a lot of his pushing elements like planche push-ups, Maltese, things like that. And then a couple months later, he also got very injured in pull. One of his talented skills he couldn't even train anymore because he got so injured. What he got was a sort of tendinopathy in his hips. It was a compensation, he said, from flexing his hips so much in the floor Victorians that he was so good at. There was a slight compensation there, maybe a weakness as well, so he ended up getting injured. So no more floor Victorian, no more planche, no more Maltese. At this point, he was pretty stuck in his calisthenics journey. So he went in search for a solution. How could he recover and avoid getting injured in the future?
I decided to buy a program specifically designed for the bicep tendinopathy, and I learned a lot on how you can treat tendinopathies in general. So I applied the program, which is 2 months long, and it got way better. Now I'm way stronger than before, but still from time to time, I have to I can have some. It's basically a weakness that will never go away. It's only an injury, but it's more of a weakness. So roughly 1 to 2 times a week, I still do the sessions of the program to keep, for example, all the adaptations that I got from it. Talking about buying a program it can seem like a hard decision to make, because calisthenics is supposed to be a free sport that you can attain a world-class level without spending in single pounds. But it's it can be hard to do. For example, if you go to your Cali friends and you tell them, yeah, I bought this program. Oh, you bought it. You would have some peer pressure to not buy stuff sometimes. But actually buying this was one of the best decisions I ever made, because I learned a lot. I came back way stronger and more powerful. I have the knowledge about a lot of tendinopathies and how they work, and it really was a great decision.
I do want to agree with Remo here. There is a lot of peer pressure online to not buy programs, not buy ebooks, not get help online, because a lot of it is bullshit. A lot of it is not going to help you. A lot of it is just quick ways for other people to make money. I would kind of avoid those ways, but there are times, like in Remo's case, where if you go and search for the help and you buy a legitimate program or something like this that will help you, information that will help you, this changed his whole career. And now Remo is on his way back to greatness. He's now competing in the UK in just a month. I will meet him in person, hopefully, if I'm there. Hopefully we meet up, we hit a few skills. You guys will see this on Instagram. And this all started from just learning how to recover, how to train, and how to ultimately not get injured so you keep making progress. So I can vouch for, coaching programs. It depends on what one, but I've had coaches in the past as well. So if you're kind of on the fence about thinking about coaching and you're at that age where it makes sense to, and maybe you're stuck, it's worth looking for a coach. So if you guys are looking for a coach, I am a calisthenics coach if you guys don't know. So link is in the description if you do want to sign up with me. I'm not going to push this too hard. Just look on Instagram and look at these people I've helped. So I'm not going to try and force you guys to pay for coaching or anything. Now, at the end of our conversation, I just had to ask, if Remo was to go back and relearn the planche and front lever, what exercises would he do, and how would he go about training? And this was his response.
I think I would use slide M front lever press, so going from inverted hang to from front lever to inverted hang, but the negative portion, quite hard to get good at just performing the negative on and on. And you can even if you're going for the holds, I don't know, let's say you're learning half lay hold and you're pretty good already at advanced tuck and super advanced tuck, you're pretty comfortable in that, you can just spam half lay negatives and your progress will skyrocket, because the negative will allow you to train in an angle that's a bit harder than the angle you're using front lever, because it's closer to your body. Although the difficulty will be a bit less because the lever is shorter when you're at the top of the motion. When you get down, it really gets hard. And just overall negatives are great. they're just great exercises. Partly because, you know, they're not comfortable. They really suck to do, actually. But that's why they're great. So when it comes to how I can learn the planche, of course, today I would do it completely differently. I would apply my approach that I use now, which is more focused on strengthening the muscles, tendons, and joints, and all the connective tissue, coupled with very specific strength training. So the planche is basically a shoulder flexion motion with locked out arms in a very specific angle. You're not doing like here, you're doing really here in this angle right now. So you have some form of requirements that you try to meet that are quite well known in terms of form. For example, the scapular abduction, aka protraction. You also want depression, you want the posterior pelvic tilt, and obviously you want the straight lockout arms. So you should not focus only on like shoulder flexion and having protraction, but you should also understand all the other motions. I'd say, of course, advanced tuck, being really proficient at advanced tuck. Then doing planche leans, so any variation of planche leans, so just the basic one. You can do the supinated one if you have like elbow problems. And then it's all about like your weaknesses. Like you really have to work on what's lacking in your planche abilities. For example, if it's the shoulder strength, happening quite often, you can do like handstand push-ups. You can do some imitations of press, for example, straight arm tuck, press to handstand, or something like that. That will help you develop your shoulders. If it's something like bicep strength, I don't know, like you could do chin-ups. You could do like the bicep curls on the bar if you want to stay body weight, and that could help you a lot.
By the way, guys, if you like the tank top I'm wearing or you need calisthenics equipment, then check out Gore Nation. If you use the code JACK10, you also help support this channel that gets you free calisthenics content that helps you in your calisthenics journey, and you'll get minus 10% off on your order. So use that code if you want to get the calisthenics equipment I recommend and the ones I use in my training, and you can also help support the channel if you like. Now you guys know how Remo used the Lafay method to kickstart his calisthenics journey, how he started training for the planche and front lever to progress very quickly, how he got to the highest level in statics and still remains there to this day, and how he overcame a tendon injury using, you know, a program that he bought online. But guys, if you don't want to buy a program online and you want to learn a little bit more about tendons, I made a full tendon conditioning guide specifically for calisthenics. So if you want to learn what tendons are, how to condition your tendons, and how to avoid tendon injuries like bicep tears, then you want to watch this video, because I made a full video breaking it down and a lot of people found it helpful.